Welcome to Stardust Stereo. I'm Parker McPhinney. I'm your host. Today's the 20th of June, year 2024, and today is the solstice. In the Northern Hemisphere, it is officially summer. The sun entered 0 degrees Cancer at 1:50 and 46 seconds p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. If you live elsewhere, you will have to do the math. I'm looking at the entrance of the sun in Cancer, aka the summer solstice in the Northern Hemisphere, via a natural wheel, meaning that I put 0 degrees Aries on the first house cusp and then follow the natural order of the zodiac wheel and see where the planets fall to get an idea of what the next 3 months will bring. In the world of astrology, you can look at this particular chart from a personal perspective and also from a mundane perspective. I will be speaking a little bit on the mundane, but mostly how you can utilize it on a personal level. The standouts of this particular ingress of the sun in Cancer are that the moon is 15 degrees Sagittarius in a square to Saturn at 19 degrees Pisces, and that the sun in Cancer is moving toward a conjunction of Venus and Mercury. There's, of course, plenty of other things within that chart, but those are the particulars that I'm going to focus on. So first of all, if you have a copy of your birth chart, you can look and see where the sun at 0 degrees Cancer falls, where the moon at 15 degrees Sag falls, and where Saturn at 19 degrees Pisces is placed. Those will give you those 3 planets, or lights. We call the sun and the moon lights, Saturn, the planet. Those 3 positions will tell you the area that you can best focus on to make use of the next 3 months. It also will show the areas of your greater concern. Now, the moon in Sagittarius at the halfway point is super insightful because the sun, being in the sign of Cancer, is ruled by the moon. So we look to see where the moon is. Another term is that it is deposited by. So the sun in Cancer is deposited by the moon in Sagittarius. Think of it as a sandwich. And it's not just the main ingredient on the sandwich, also what you might put on top that adds to the flavor of that particular sandwich. The moon in Sagittarius is always about abundance and overreach and athletic energy. It rules in a mundane chart our justice system. It rules legalities and universities and higher knowledge, what you do with that higher knowledge. So this next period, this next season, the 3 months of it, will be very much tied to, is it legal? If you are traveling abroad during the summer, which many people will be doing, I would highly suggest that you familiarize yourself with the laws of that country that you are traveling in. Particularly because that moon in Sagittarius is square Saturn in Pisces, and that represents boundaries. What are the boundaries? What are the boundaries of how much food you eat? What are the boundaries between what level of consumption that you have of mind-altering substances, alcohol being the primarily one that we focus on with Saturn in Pisces? A lot of people will be faced with their addictions this summer through events that happen, through family members calling them out, to getting DWIs, through experiencing a limited amount of understanding of their life, confusion. Moon square Saturn is a harsh square in that it deals with being all over the place, and why when you are just a bumblebee flying from here to here to here, not paying attention to the immediate surrounding and what is needed for your immediate security, you might flounder. And through that floundering, you realize you need to zoom back in and focus on your most essential security needs, because the sun in Cancer deals with the homestead. It deals with emotional security and the family. And so this summer is an excellent time to re-examine what family means to you. Not everybody has a traditional family. Actually, probably most people don't have a traditional family anymore, because our world is immensely different and people live all over. Very rarely do families stay in the same city or village. Obviously, because of wars, many families are displaced. So the moon square Saturn on the mundane level will bring up our housing crisis that we have worldwide, not just through war, but through not having proper boundaries in what is the balance between your landlord making a profit and you no longer being able to afford shelter, which we are seeing across America. I think it's probably in Europe too, because affordability to actually live inside a shelter has become so outrageous. Because the sun in Cancer deals so much with the home family structure, we also need to look at the immigration issue. So these issues that are already on the plate are going to be intensifying worldwide so that they can be solved in a compassionate way. We can bring a resolution to some of these overreached, out of control, unsustainable issues that the world faces. On a personal level, it might mean that you would look at your ideology and how the wisdom of your ideology helps you on an everyday, inside, outside, how I get along with my neighbors, I go to and from work, how my ideology has gone from broad thinking to the most minute and finite detail. And as the moon will trine Chiron, because Chiron's at 22 degrees Aries, we will discover the solutions to these very complex issues, but also new inventions, understandings, and ways to tackle old issues with a pioneering attitude. New ideas that maybe have been bounced around for quite a while suddenly can take root, aka the tiny house solution. Overreach will also happen in our legal systems, our legal institutions, and then also another area that will be quite debated back and forth are issues of gender, especially within the athletic institutions. We're going to see a lot of fires and floods, both literally and symbolically. The media wars will continue, but with a moon square Saturn, I would suggest that there's no limit on the amount of research you should do for particular issues that are important to your heart. One of the Sabian symbols in this particular chart for the moon is seagulls watching a ship. And this made me think very much of the waters and submarines and treaties that we have, and the element of comfort or lack of how we can navigate our waters without fear. You know, submarines underneath that are loaded with bombs, a little too close to the land. Things like that. Again, I can't emphasize enough, the moon in Sagittarius tends to go overboard, does more, wants more, doesn't think of the consequences. And this could be summarized between asking yourself a question: is this a want or is this a duty? Is this something I have to have for my well-being, or is this excessive? We really can get along, even though the world seems so disruptive right now. But also in this chart, ruling the angles using the natural wheel, Venus and Mars are in a fantastic relationship. So on the natural wheel, Mars rules the first house, Venus rules the 7th, Saturn rules the 10th, and the moon rules the 4th. First house is how you present yourself to the world. 7th is how others see you. And with the Mars-Venus beautiful sextile relationship, this indicates through good conversation, we are able to meet halfway and have a reasonable discussion to understand each other's needs. And as long as we keep boundaries in a proper place, not just opening up without any understanding of when enough has been reached, that's the key. When you have no limitations, the only area which we should have no limitations, I believe, is in our consciousness of trying to achieve a higher knowledge. But on a very simple level, if you have no limitations of how much you eat, you're going to weigh 300 pounds, and that's going to result in a heart problem, and that's going to result in not being able to work, etc. So the domino effect falls down, and your life suddenly is a big mess. And at the core, if there had been limitations, that could have possibly been avoided. Same with alcohol. If you drink to excess and you get in the car and you kill somebody, you're going to go to prison. If we take a practical approach and what our innermost needs are within boundaries, we can deal with the summer period of 3 months and make some fabulous achievements. If you find yourself brooding or more melancholy, start moving the body. Commit to exercise. Commit to daily exercise. This will help tremendously. So I wish you a happy summer solstice. I hope the next 3 months are blissful for you and that you travel well and safe. And if you're not able to travel, literally, may you read some fantastic books and become an armchair traveler. But the potential for the summer is that we can expand our horizons if we do so consciously, safely, and with limitations. I'd like to thank you for listening. This is Stardust Stereo. I'm Parker McPhinney. I'd like to thank my patrons. You know who you are, and you are greatly appreciated. If you'd like to become a patron, you can do so at patreon.com/ParkerMcP. And I want to remind you, you are made of stardust. So go shine.